there, I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, back again with another preview video. This time we're taking a look at Hit the Silk from Escape Plan Board Games. And this game is currently running on Kickstarter right now, so make sure to check out the Kickstarter campaign. There's a link down below in the description of the video. Hit the Silk is a party game for 3 to 6 players. That is all about strong player interaction, good hand management, and double-crossing one another. The theme is that everybody are thieves on a plane trying to get away from the last heist, and the plane has malfunctioned. It's about to crash. And there are only so many parachutes on the plane, and you want to make sure to get yourself one of those parachutes and a lot of the cash. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at it on the table. All right, I have Hit the Silk from Escape Plan Board Games on the table here. And as I get started, I want to make sure to let you guys know that everything you see here is prototype. The final artwork, components, maybe even some of the rules may be different when the final product is released. That being said, let's go ahead and get into this. In Hit the Silk, you are going to be playing cards, trying to double-cross other players, stealing their cards, making sure to hold on to cash for yourself, but ultimately wanting to survive. Because if you die, you can't win. In this game, you're going to set your altimeter here, which measures how high in the sky your airplane is, to however many number of players there are in the game. Either 6, 5, 4, or 3 players. And this ultimately just lets you know how much longer the game can go. On your turn, you're going to do 3 things. You can do any number of these things you want. The first is you can one time discard a card in exchange for however many cards the arrow is hovering over at that point in the game. So you can only do this once. You can discard 1 card, and at the beginning here in a 3-player game, you would receive 2 cards from the draw pile. You would keep one of those cards, discard the other. Later on in the game, you might be able to get 3 cards, and then right towards the end of the game, you might get 4 cards. Again, only keeping 1, discarding the others. Now, when you do that, you do have to lower this altimeter. 2 little ticks here, which each tick represents 250 feet, so 500 feet when you choose to discard a card. The second thing you could do is you can play any number of cards you want in your hand. Now, let's go over what these cards might be. One of them is money, and you want a lot of money because ultimately the idea in this game is you have a huge debt you have to pay off. And if you don't have enough money to pay off your debt, then you're not going to win. And you and the other surviving players work together to try to get as much money as possible. You can also play cards that cost a number of feet to play to let you do special things, such as Spy, which lets you look at other players' hands, or Steal from their hands. Now, I included 2 of these here to show you that not all cards are equal. The one on the left costs 250 feet, whereas the one on the right costs 750, but they do the same exact thing. Take cards from another player. Unless that player has a knife, and that protects them from being stolen. Then you could also play Kung Fu cards, which allow you to knock weapons out of other players' hands. There's also a way to handcuff players' hands together. So you can handcuff one player to another player, or you can handcuff yourself to that player, and this is a way to really drive that player to have to help you out. Otherwise, if you both jump out of the plane, you're both going to die unless you both have parachutes. So it's a way to force a player to have to work with you. But they can always get a key and unlock those handcuffs, and then you're high and dry again. Keys can also be used to unlock the lockbox right here, which is a separate deck of cards that you are only able to look at if you unlock the lockbox. And you get to look at these, keep one of them for yourself, put the rest back in the lockbox. You can also pull a gun out on somebody, and the guns really don't do a whole lot unless you have a bullet. And if you have both a gun and a bullet, then you can shoot the bullet. And if you get shot, then your hand size is reduced to 3 cards. If you get shot a second time, you die. Not good. You don't want that to happen. You can also poison players, and this has to be done before 7,000 feet. And there's a little icon on the altimeter here to remind you of that. You have to do that before 7,000 feet. And if you do get poisoned, you want to make sure to get an antidote and use it before 5,000 feet. Otherwise, you die. The card that everyone is trying to get, though, are parachutes. And there's always going to be more players in the game than there are parachutes in the deck. So not everybody's going to get a parachute. And if you don't have one of these when it's time to hit the silk, then you're not going to be all right. Now, that's the second thing you can do. And again, you lower the number of feet, however many, for the cards that you play. The third thing that you can do is you can work out one trade on your turn. Now, trades have to be for equal cards. So I could say, I want to trade one card for your one card. Or I want to trade 2 cards for your 2 cards. Now, all trades are done face down. So you're never quite sure if the cards you're receiving are exactly what that player claims they are. And vice versa, that player is never sure if the cards you're giving them are what you say they are. So that's an easy way to double cross players in this game. But it's also a way to work together to try to hit that number of cash, the amount of cash that you need in order for everyone to win, or make sure everybody has parachutes. Now, this little token right here is going to keep track of who the current player is. And the reason why you need this is because anytime that the altimeter crosses one of these little parachute icons, then the game is immediately going to stop and everyone's going to hold a vote on whether they want to hit the silk or not. Players that are wanting to hit the silk are saying, I'm ready to jump out of the plane because I have a parachute and I've got a lot of cash and I think we can win. If the majority is to hit the silk, then the game will immediately stop. If the vote is to not hit the silk, then the game will continue. But the plane will hit turbulence. And you'll have to roll this die, and whatever comes up, you're going to drop the plane that amount of feet. And as you can see, these are big numbers here. And so that is going to cause the altimeter to drop significantly, speeding up the end of the game. Now, at the end here, when you get to 1,000 feet, you have to hit the silk, or you have to try to land the plane. So let's go over what that looks like. For anybody who says, nope, I am not jumping, I don't have a parachute, I'm going to stay in the plane, there is one last ditch effort to try and win the game. You take all the cards off of this board right here, you turn it over, and there's like a little mini game on the backside here. You put this little airplane token right here on the start space, and then the players who are still in the plane are going to take turns rolling these dice here. And you'll get 2 numbers, and you have to decide to use one number to move the plane across and one number to move the plane down. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get that plane to land right here somewhere on this runway. Because if you crash the plane into the lake, you die, game over. And if you overshoot the runway and crash into the mountain, again, game over. And now the catch on these dice are that there are some sides that force you to have to use that die to move the plane in a certain direction, which means you have to use the other die to use it in the opposite direction. And the likelihood of actually pulling this off is not very high. There is one card in the deck that's a pilot's license that if you are the player trying to do this and you have that card, you can alter this die by one number plus or minus, one of the 2 dice that you roll. And if you're successful in landing the plane, then however much cash you have on you is your score. And if your score is greater than the other team's score, then you win the game. And that other team's score is not exactly how much cash they have, it's how much cash they have after they've paid off their debt. Because in this game, you're all thieves, if I didn't already explain that, and you have a huge debt to settle. And so you need this money to pay off that debt. And there's a certain amount depending on the number of players in the game that you're trying to hit. Whoever has the higher amount of money is going to win, either the player who landed the plane, if they were successful, or those who hit the silk and survived and however much cash they have with them. And that is how you play Hit the Silk. All right, we're back, and right now we're going to share our thoughts on this game and maybe a little bit of what to expect when you play it for yourself. Sam, what did you think about Hit the Silk?
Well, party games aren't typically our go-to games. It's not typically our favorite, but I find that this one's a little bit different. It was very much still a board game. I don't usually like when you're trying to sabotage each other, but it was fun. It was interesting. The fact that you could handcuff yourself to each other, you could poison each other and find the antidote, and the whole time the plane's going down and you're going down on the altimeter. It was a lot of stress in a good way, and then it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah. This game has a lot of tension built into it. It is super thematic in that you really get the feeling that the plane is going down, and it is going down quick, and you want to make sure to get one of those parachutes.
Yeah.
It definitely uses that tension in a way to drive player interactions, to force you to make trades with one another, to handcuff yourself to someone, even if you know that that may not be the best thing for you in the end. It could force that player to give you a parachute in order to save their own skin.
Yeah.
That's a really cool idea, and it's really cool to see that work out on the table, that you can really kind of use that tension, use the theme of this game to really force people to really kind of feel tension themselves.
Yeah.
You really kind of see everybody at the table start to kind of feel the weight of it all on them. And that's a cool experience. You don't really see that all too often. So I really enjoyed the theme. Sam, you mentioned that sabotaging or take that mechanics aren't really your favorite. But then you also said that, you can find the antidote for the poison.
There
or
was
you can an answer to the take that
it
mechanic.
wasn't just like, here, I'm going to take this away from you and that's it. You have the option, okay, well, now what's my next step? So there's a little bit more thinking to it, and luck as well, depending on what cards you draw.
Sure, yeah. But I feel like, that there are so many cards in the deck, and there's so many different cards that do different things, that if this one idea doesn't work out for you, you have another idea that maybe you can run with and see where that goes. And it's a pretty quick game too, 30 minutes or so, I want to say. If you don't do well, oh well, everybody at the table is going to have a good time with it. You'll probably play it again immediately and, try something else different out that time for you. Escape Plan board games, they're well known for making highly thematic, socially interaction games. And this one is right in line with that. I think it's really such a cool experience. Again, really gets you feeling like you're in a plane that's about to crash.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. So, all right, Sam, so you being a non-gamer, would you say, is this a game that you would sit down with a table of non-gamers and break this out with them?
I think so, yeah. In general, party games are good for non-gamers because they get everybody interacting together. Everybody really has their part. You're not leaving somebody to just kind of figure it out for themselves. There's a lot of talking and interacting. So I think party games are good. Even if that's not typically ones that we lean to, I still think it's a good one, especially when you have multiple non-gamers, not just one or two. So yeah, I think it's a really good one. And the theme is a lot of fun, and it may interest them in other thematic games as well.
Right. And I think with this particular one, I think it is a good way to show how unique games can be that can really draw people in. This is so immersive. It can really kind of draw people in, and it's those immersive kind of games that are very socially interacting that can really draw someone in and kind of introduce them to the hobby, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I think this would work very well with non-gamers. So, all right.
Well, make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
All right, I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.